Three things God always does to a narcissist, according to the Bible. There's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from a stranger. It comes from someone who smiled at you while silently tearing you down. It comes from someone who acted like they were always right, like your feelings were a burden, like your voice didn't matter unless it praised them. You didn't imagine it, you didn't exaggerate it. You were dealing with a narcissist and it drained something deep inside of you. Narcissists don't always come with loud arrogance. Sometimes they show up dressed in charm, with compliments on their lips and manipulation in their heart. They rewrite history. They twist the truth. They'll make you question your sanity while they stand in the mirror of their own self-worship. And while you're left cleaning up the emotional mess they made, they walk away unbothered, or so it seems. But here's the truth, and I need you to hear this. God sees it all. Every conversation behind your back. Every lie told in your name. Every time they use scripture as a weapon instead of a healing balm. Every moment you cried out to him in confusion, wondering why it felt like evil was winning. It never slipped past him. And here's where it gets real. You are not called to fight them. That may sound hard. That may feel unfair. But God doesn't ask us to carry battles that belong to him. When you try to fight a narcissist in your own strength, you'll get tangled in their chaos. But when you step back and trust God's justice, you're giving him room to move in ways you never could. Now, I'm not telling you to tolerate abuse. I'm not saying stay silent in the face of wrongdoing. But there's a holy wisdom in knowing when to speak, when to step back, and when to let God be God. Because the Bible is crystal clear about this one thing. God always deals with the proud. He doesn't ignore them. He doesn't bless their manipulation. He deals with them directly. So today, I want to talk to you like a friend who's walked through it too. I want to take you deep into the Word of God and show you three things God always does to a narcissist, and why you don't need to waste another ounce of your energy trying to fight someone God is already handling. Let's walk this out together. Because once you understand how seriously God takes pride, control, and deception, you'll stop fighting battles that aren't yours to fight. And you'll start resting in the quiet power of a God who never lets evil have the final say. Number one, God exposes the heart every time. You might think they're getting away with it. The lies, the fake smiles, the carefully crafted image they present to the world while they're draining the life out of the people closest to them. But God is not fooled by image. He doesn't need receipts. He doesn't need a screenshot or a voice memo. He sees the heart. And eventually, every single time, God exposes what's been hidden. Luke 8:17 says, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and not concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." That's not a maybe. That's a promise. Narcissists are masters at performance. They'll play the victim while they're the ones causing pain. They'll do just enough good to make people question your story, make you look like the bitter one. But here's what you've got to remember. God looks beyond the act. He doesn't judge based on social media posts, church attendance, or clever manipulation. He judges the heart. And when the time is right, he pulls back the curtain. Sometimes it takes a while. That's the part that hurts. Because we want justice right now. We want truth to shout. But God is patient. Not because he's ignoring it, but because he's giving room for repentance. He gives narcissists space to turn around, to drop the mask, to fall on their knees before it's too late. Look at Saul in the Old Testament, the first king of Israel. He started strong, looked the part, even had moments where he heard God's voice. But something dark was in his heart. Pride, insecurity, control. And over time, God exposed him. First through Samuel's rebuke, then through public disobedience, and finally by removing his spirit from Saul and anointing David. What was hidden in Saul was brought into the light, and it cost him everything. If you've been silenced, ignored, or made to feel crazy by someone who twists reality. Take comfort in this. God is already working behind the scenes. Exposure might not come the way you expect, but it will come. God doesn't let darkness hide forever. So don't waste your breath trying to convince everyone. Let the fruit speak. Let time reveal. Let God expose. Because when He does, it's not just about vindicating you, it's about freeing everyone else who's been caught in the same web. Number 2. God resists the proud without exception. There is no verse in the Bible more clear and sobering for the narcissist than this one. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. James 4:6. Let that sink in. God doesn't just dislike pride. He actively resists it. He stands against it. That means when someone is operating in pride, in self-exaltation, in arrogance, in a refusal to repent, God Himself becomes their opposition. This is not a passive response. God goes to war with pride. Narcissists walk through life thinking they are untouchable, that their charm, intellect, or position can keep them elevated above correction. They often mistake delayed consequences as divine approval. But Scripture is clear. Pride always leads to a fall. Not sometimes. Not occasionally. Always. Proverbs 16:18 says pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall, not before discomfort, not before embarrassment, before destruction. Think about King Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel. He looked out over his kingdom and said, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" Daniel 4:30. He was proud, self-sufficient, drunk on his own success. And in that very moment, God stripped him of his power. He lost his mind, lived like a wild animal. He went from royal robes to eating grass like an ox, until he finally lifted his eyes to heaven and acknowledged God as the true king. That's what God does. He brings down those who exalt themselves, not to humiliate them, but to humble them. And if they don't turn, He keeps resisting. You don't have to resist them. You don't have to match their manipulation, control, ego. God is already doing that. And trust me, when God resists, no platform, title, or charisma can protect them. And maybe, just maybe, God resisting them is the most merciful thing He can do, because it's in the fall that some people finally look up. It's in the breaking that repentance becomes possible. So if someone in your life is operating in pride and won't change, let God handle it. He's not just watching, He's opposing them. Let that truth set you free. Let it give you rest. Let it silence your need to prove yourself. Because God's resistance is not like ours. It's holy, it's perfect, and it always hits its mark. Number 3, God delays judgment, but it's certain. It's one of the hardest things to understand when you're dealing with a narcissist. Why does God allow them to keep going? Why does He seem so silent while they continue to hurt, manipulate, deceive, and destroy relationships? Let's be clear. God's silence is not His approval. And His patience, it's not permission. Romans 2:5 says, "But because of your stubbornness and your unrepentant heart, you are storing up wrath against yourself for the day of God's wrath, when His righteous judgment will be revealed." That verse doesn't sound popular. It's not the kind of verse you'll see on a coffee mug or in an inspirational quote on Instagram. But it's truth, and it's something narcissists forget. God delays judgment out of mercy, not because He's blind. The longer someone walks in unrepentant pride and self-idolatry, the more they are storing up judgment. Like a spiritual bank account, every manipulation, every lie, every abuse of power, every moment of playing God in other people's lives, it adds up. And there will come a day when the account is full, when God says enough. Look at Pharaoh in the book of Exodus, a man obsessed with control and power. He hardened his heart over and over again, refusing to let God's people go. Even after plague, warning after warning, his heart stayed cold. And eventually, God didn't just allow the hardening, he confirmed it. Pharaoh crossed a line where judgment wasn't delayed anymore. And what was the result? His empire fell. His army drowned. The same pride that kept him from bowing to God ended up becoming his ruin. That's what narcissists don't see. They think the delay is proof that they're safe. But judgment that's delayed is often judgment that's being built up. And here's the thing. We don't get to choose when or how God judges. But we can be absolutely certain that he will. So if it feels like nothing is happening, trust this. God is not mocked. The judgment of God may not come according to your timeline or in the way you imagine. But when it comes, it will be full, righteous, and undeniable. Let that take the pressure off your shoulders. You don't have to make them see it. You don't have to be the one to call down justice. God is not finished, and his justice is never late. It's just on his calendar, not yours. Number 4, God protects the innocent, even in the fire. Let's talk about the part that hits closest to home. You, the one who's been wounded. The one who stayed quiet to keep the peace. The one who was loyal, even when they weren't honest. Maybe you're still carrying the emotional scars from dealing with a narcissist who pretended to care but left you drained, confused, and questioning your worth. But I want you to hear me, and I mean really hear this. You are not invisible to God. Your pain is not ignored, and your protection is his priority. Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Not might, not maybe. He is close. God doesn't promise we won't go through fire, but he promises we won't go through it alone. Just ask Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, 3 innocent men who were thrown into a literal furnace because they wouldn't bow to prideful authority. They didn't fight. They didn't argue. They stood firm in truth and were thrown into the flames for it. But when the king looked into the fire, he saw 4 men walking, not 3. God didn't just deliver them after the fire. He protected them inside it. That's your God. That's what he does for the innocent. Even when it looks like the narcissist has the upper hand, even when it feels like evil is winning, God is walking with you, shielding you, preserving your mind, your identity, your future. Look at Joseph. Betrayed by his own brothers, lied on by Potiphar's wife, forgotten in prison. All because other people operated in selfishness, jealousy, and pride. Yet through every stage, God was with him, not just eventually. The Bible says repeatedly, "And the Lord was with Joseph." That's protection. And maybe you're thinking, but I still lost years of my life. I still hurt. I still struggle. Yes, but you didn't lose God's presence. You didn't lose his plan, and he's not finished yet. He's the same God who brought Joseph from the prison to the palace, the same God who gave Daniel favor with kings, the same God who silenced the mouths of lions and elevated the humble before entire nations. Don't mistake suffering for abandonment. God has been protecting you even when you couldn't feel it, even when all you could do was survive. You're still here, still breathing, and that alone is proof God's hand has been on your life. You don't have to be strong enough to fight the narcissist. You just have to be still enough to trust the one who already has his shield around you, because with him, even in the fire, you will not be consumed. Number 5, God redeems the pain. Always. There's a kind of pain that only heaven fully understands. The pain of being wounded by someone you trusted, the sting of betrayal, the silence after gaslighting, the ache of being emotionally used, then discarded like your heart was disposable. But hear me, God doesn't just heal the pain, he redeems it. That means he takes what was meant to destroy you and turns it into something that strengthens you. Not by pretending it didn't happen, not by ignoring the damage, but by reaching into the very depths of it and pulling out something eternal. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." That includes the seasons where you felt broken. That includes the relationships that left you empty. That even includes the manipulation and confusion a narcissist brought into your life. God doesn't waste a single tear. Let's go back to Joseph for a moment. After all the betrayal, abandonment, and false accusations he endured, all at the hands of people walking in selfishness and pride, he eventually stood face to face with his brothers, the ones who started it all. And what did he say? "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, saving of many lives." Genesis 50:20. That's not denial. That's not pretending everything was fine. That's redemption. God took every injustice Joseph suffered and used it to position him for influence, wisdom, and purpose, not in spite of the pain, but through it. And that's exactly what God is doing in your story. You may not see it yet, but the pain you've walked through is creating a strength in you that artificial love could never produce. You're learning to discern more clearly. You're growing in wisdom. Your prayers are deeper. Your dependence on God is stronger. Your identity is becoming unshakable, not because the narcissist affirmed it, but because God is restoring it. That's what redemption looks like. Not just surviving what you went through, but becoming more because of it. So no matter how deep the wound, know this: God is not finished with your story. What they meant for harm, what pride tried to steal, what manipulation tried to silence, God is going to use it for impact, healing, and testimony. Because with God, no pain is ever pointless, and no season is ever wasted. Number 6, God warns, then removes. God is merciful, more merciful than we can comprehend. He gives time. He gives space. He sends conviction. He offers truth again and again, even to narcissists, even to the proud, even to those who manipulate Scripture and twist love into control. But there is a line. There is a moment when the warnings run out and God steps in. And when he removes someone, it's final. Proverbs 29:1 says, "Whoever remains stiff-necked after many rebukes will suddenly be destroyed without remedy." That's not an opinion. That's a divine law. God is patient, but he is also just. And when someone continues to reject correction, mock repentance, and trample over others without remorse, God removes them. It might be from a position, it might be from a relationship, it might even be from this life. Let's talk about Haman for a moment, the proud, manipulative man in the book of Esther. He was obsessed with his image. He demanded honor. He built a gallows to destroy a righteous man named Mordecai, and he thought he had all the power. But what Haman didn't know was that God had already issued warning after warning, and he ignored every one of them. So what happened? The same gallows he built for someone else became the place of his own downfall. The trap he set out of pride became the tool of his judgment, and God used that removal to elevate Mordecai and rescue a nation. That's how God works. He warns, then he acts. We see this pattern throughout Scripture. With Saul, God sent Samuel to confront him multiple times. Saul refused to listen. Eventually, God tore the kingdom from his hands. With Jezebel, God sent Elijah to call her out. She doubled down in rebellion. In the end, her fall was as violent as her pride. Don't ever mistake God's patience for weakness. He gives warnings because he's good, but when they go ignored, when the narcissist continues to harm others and harden their heart, God steps in, and when he does, no one can stop it. If God has removed someone from your life, a relationship, a leader, a voice, trust him. It may feel painful at first. You might even miss them. But God doesn't remove without reason. He sees what you can't. He knows what's ahead. And sometimes removal is the only path to restoration. It's not revenge. It's righteousness. Let this remind you. You don't have to make it happen. You don't have to expose, confront, or carry the emotional burden. If God has warned them and they keep resisting, He will remove them at the right time, in the right way, and for the right reasons. Because God's justice may be patient, but it's never passive. Number 7. God elevates the humble in front of the proud. There's something powerful about the way God works. He doesn't just remove the proud, He raises up the humble, and not in secret, not in the shadows. He does it in front of those who tried to suppress them. Why? Because God is not only just, He's intentional. Psalm 23:5 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemy." That means the very people who tried to silence you will watch God bless you. The ones who tried to humiliate you will see God honor you. The ones who overlooked you, lied about you, used you, or mocked your humility, they'll have front row seats to your redemption. God doesn't elevate through manipulation. He doesn't promote based on charisma, image, or pride. He looks for the humble, the ones who didn't fight to be seen, the ones who surrendered instead of striving, the ones who kept their hearts pure while others were building platforms of pride. Let's go back to David. He wasn't trying to become king. He was tending sheep while Saul was building a kingdom on control. David served, worshipped, and honored God, even when the current king was throwing spears at him. He had every right to retaliate, every reason to fight back. But he didn't, and still, God elevated him. Not just after Saul was gone, but while Saul was still watching. That's how God works. He doesn't just remove Saul. He raises David. He doesn't just silence Haman. He promotes Mordecai. He doesn't just stop Peninnah's taunts. He gives Hannah a son. He doesn't just humble Pharaoh. He delivers Moses and Israel in power. God is the master of reversals. If you've ever been mistreated by someone filled with pride, someone who walked all over you and thought they'd never face consequences, this is your reminder. You don't have to lift yourself. God knows how to lift you, and when He does, it will be undeniable. But don't chase the elevation. Chase Him. Stay humble. Stay faithful. Keep your heart clean. Let God handle the narcissist. Let Him write the redemption, because when He elevates the humble, it's not just to restore what's lost. It's to display His glory. He's not just going to bring you through this. He's going to use your story right in front of the ones who thought they had the final word. Conclusion. Let's go back to where we started. Narcissists thrive on control. They twist truth. They feed off praise. They push others down, lift themselves up. But God, the true and only righteous judge, sees it all, and He always responds. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to carry the burden of making everything right, because God already is. He exposes their heart. He resists their pride, and He brings judgment in His time with perfect justice. But while He's dealing with them, here's what He's doing for you. He's protecting you even when you can't see it. He's redeeming your pain, even when it still hurts. He's warning them, and if they don't turn, He's removing them. And He's preparing to elevate you, not because you fought, but because you trusted Him to. So don't waste your strength trying to match their ego. Don't trade your peace for proof. Walk with God. Stay humble. Keep your hands clean. Let your story be one of grace, not retaliation. Because in the end, the proud always fall, and the humble always rise. And when God lifts you, no narcissist, No lie, no manipulation, and no spiritual attack can stab it. Let him fight your battle. Let him write your vindication. Let him be your defender. Because when God moves, everyone sees it. And your life, it's not over. It's just getting started.
I speak to you now because it is no accident that you're hearing these words. I, your God, reigned this moment long before today even began. You may have thought you were simply looking for answers, but I already planned this encounter as a call from heaven into your life. Every step was guided for you to hear my voice now because this message isn't random, it's a direct command from the throne to your heart. I've seen every step you've taken, the doors that shut before you, the sleepless nights filled with worries about money. I was there, watching over every moment and listening to every prayer you silently whispered. Today, I come with authority to tell you, an economic miracle has already been declared over your life. I've issued a decree in heaven with your name on it, a decree that carries your story, your struggles, your needs, and the blessings I have set aside for you. This is no accident, no stroke of luck. This is a divine movement made by my power. You may have thought no one noticed your tears, but I kept each one like precious seeds. Now, the time for harvest has come. I am the Lord who turns tears into blessings, who changes your tiredness into strength, and who takes what little you have and makes it overflow. I know how many times you've counted your coins, afraid it wouldn't be enough. I've seen how it felt like everyone else was prospering while you barely got by. But I want you to know this. I haven't forgotten you. I have not left you. In fact, I was preparing this moment to raise you above everything and everyone. What I'm releasing into your life is not just a small relief, but a mighty flood of abundance. The gates of heaven are opening, and I'm pouring out supernatural provision upon you. And know this, you will no longer be controlled by fear or insecurity. I put an end to the cycle of fear that made your heart race with every bill, every request, and every surprise need. Today, I declare a new season for you, a season where you will witness abundance in place of scarcity, doors opening where there were once walls, and rest where there was once worry. I am your Father, and I never intended for you to live in lack. I created you to walk with confidence, to testify to my faithfulness before others. This economic miracle I bring doesn't depend on your strength or how hard you work or how much you save. It depends on your faith. I do not ask for perfection or impossible sacrifices, only for your trust. Believe, and you will witness the result. I move when my children choose to believe, even when they cannot see. Today I tell you the waiting is over. The time of fulfillment begins now. It's not just about shifting resources, it's about changing your entire environment. As you receive these words, the angels are already at work, connections are already being made, and hearts are being prepared to bless you. You're not merely hearing a promise, you're receiving a decree. This decree holds power, and nothing can stop it from reaching your home. Beloved son, beloved daughter, I have already chosen you to be a vessel of provision and abundance. What I give you is not just for you to keep, but for you to share, to lift others, and to be light where there is darkness. You will be living proof that I am still the God who provides, who amazes, and who makes ways in the wilderness. What I am releasing to you is beyond your imagination, because I don't just want to meet your needs, I want to transform your future. Now I ask you to align with this decree. Don't just hear it, but respond with faith. Declare openly what I have already set in motion in the unseen. Comment now that you receive this economic miracle. write it down as a personal prophecy, as a mark before heaven. This simple act becomes a declaration of faith, and I respond to that faith with speed. When you write, the angels see your decision and move even faster to bring the answer. Do not doubt. Do not hesitate. Just declare with certainty, "This is my moment. This is my harvest. This is my miracle." Take a deep breath and receive it. I am with you, and nothing can stop what I have already released in your life. Do not close your heart or your ears, because this is not just any message. It is a call from heaven, my own voice speaking to you. When you stay, when you choose to remain, you show your belief, and that faith opens the doors that were once closed. Let me say this clearly. As you listen, my presence begins to move inside of you like a living stream, breaking unseen chains, dissolving fears, healing memories of past defeats, and filling you with the confidence that a new chapter has begun. You did not find me by accident. I arranged this moment for you. Your faithfulness in staying focused and not turning away is the key that allows me to bring radical change into your life. For too long, you accepted living with little, surviving with what you had, counting every penny and fearing it wouldn't be enough. That cycle ends today. I decree that you will no longer live in lack. I breathe over you a new season, one that carries the seal of heaven, and its name is unexpected abundance, divine provision, and miracles unleashed. You have become used to planning every penny, living in fear that it won't stretch far enough. But now, I, the Lord, tell you that you will see my hand move in such a powerful way that you will learn to rest in me. From today, you will no longer face your bills with worry, but with confidence in me. You will no longer live with the sole desire to escape debt. Instead, you will live in the experience of my abundant generosity. I am the source that will never run dry. I am the provider who will never fail. I am the one who sends what you need at the perfect time. Do not obsess over thoughts of lack. Do not tell yourself you cannot. Do not believe it is impossible. I have already released everything you need. I have already sent your provisions. I have already moved people into place. I have already aligned the right situations. Your part is to believe and stay connected to my voice. By staying, the atmosphere shifts. By staying, the chains are broken. By staying, my word enters your spirit and awakens what has been dormant. Beloved son, beloved daughter, know this. The season of abundance is not just a thought. It is a spiritual reality that has already come upon you. Economic miracles are already in motion. Unexpected resources will appear. Doors that once seemed closed will swing wide open. I will send people as instruments of my pavilion. I am transforming your financial situation, but even more, I am restoring your peace and vision. Understand that I am not only changing the numbers in your account, I am changing hearts, rebuilding trust, and purifying your surroundings so that hope can rise again. Keep this truth close to your heart. What seemed impossible is now a fulfilled promise. What once seemed distant is now within reach. What appeared unattainable is now yours. My faithfulness will be evident, and no one will deny that it was I who moved. Now, I invite you to embrace this promise, not only for yourself, but as a vessel of blessing for others. Share this message and make it an act of faith. By sharing, you are declaring that you believe this word is alive and that it's not just for you, but for all those who need to hear it. The simple act of passing this message on will be like planting a seed, and I multiply the seeds. What you share will return to you in the form of a harvest. So share with the heart of one who sows faith. Share as one who opens doors. Share as someone who knows that the more hope spreads, the more abundance is drawn toward you. Don't underestimate this action. Just like one word has the power to change a life, sharing it can be the key to someone's transformation, especially someone in need right now. By receiving this, you will be the answer. When you sow hope, you reap hope. When you sow faith, you reap faith. When you sow abundance, you reap abundance. Stand firm and keep listening. Declare within yourself, this season is mine. This promise is mine. This word is for me. Every moment you remain, heaven is moving on your behalf. The season of scarcity is over. I, the Lord, declare that now begins a time of unexpected abundance. Now begins a time of divine provision. Now begins a time of economic miracles in your life. Beloved son, beloved daughter, I want you to understand a truth that will change your perspective on what I'm doing right now. The miracle I am sending into your life is not based on your effort, how much you have, or how much you lack. It's not about your calculations, your strength, or your human plans. This miracle comes from faith. I am the God who honors the trust of my children, and when someone chooses to believe in me above all else, I move heaven and earth for them. You have spent too long carrying burdens that were never meant for you. You've tried to handle everything on your own. You've planned, fought, and anxiously counted every resource. Today, I tell you to rest, because the economic miracle I send is no longer based on your struggle, but on my decree. It is your faith that activates what I have already released. The more you believe, the quicker it will come to pass in your life. I created you not to settle for the bare minimum, but to live as an heir to my promise. You were not meant to live under the weight of scarcity, but to reflect my glory through abundance. Your life will testify that I am the God who multiplies, who turns little into much, who takes what seems insufficient and makes it overflow. You were not created to live in fear of tomorrow. You were made to fully trust in the one who sustains you today. As you listen now, things are moving in the unseen. The angels are working, positioned perfectly to open doors you couldn't see and to touch hearts you couldn't reach. I'm raising people to favor you. I am organizing circumstances that will unfold at just the right time. I am bringing the connections that will change your situation. This is not just a promise. It is a signed decree. What I've spoken is already done, and nothing can stop my word from being fulfilled. Receive this truth in your spirit. Your name is already written in a decree of abundance. You won't just receive enough. You'll experience more than enough. Where there was once fear of lack, now there will be certainty of plenty. Where you once counted your coins, now you'll see provision overflow. I am your source, your security, and the answer you've been searching for. Beloved, know this decree doesn't just change what's outside of you. It transforms who you are on the inside. I want you to walk with confidence, to look forward with hope, and to let go of the mindset of scarcity. You were not made to be a prisoner of lack. You were made to be a channel for my abundance. Through you, others will be touched, blessed, and lifted. What I place in your hands is not just for you, but for my name to be praised through your life. Now, I invite you to take a simple step that carries deep spiritual meaning. Like this video and subscribe to this channel as a prophetic act of faith. This small action may seem ordinary to the human eye, but before me, it is a powerful sign that you believe, that you've aligned yourself with my voice, and that you have chosen to walk with me. Every time you respond to my word with obedience, something in heaven moves faster. Your gesture is seen as an act of faith, and I release acceleration when I see faith in action. Never underestimate the power of small actions. Faith is not only measured by what you think, but also by how you respond to what you hear. Your decision to stay connected with me is a signal that rises to heaven and opens doors. I use simple actions to bring about great results, because I am the God who takes the smallest things and turns them into something great, who takes a seed and makes it into an abundant harvest. Receive this word as an unchangeable decree. Nothing you faced can stop what I have already set in motion. Your part is to believe, stay connected, and act with faith. And I, your Father, am the one who will change your reality. The time of lack has ended. Today begins a time of unexpected abundance, divine provision, and economic miracles made visible. I am with you, and my word will never return empty. Take a deep breath and receive it in your heart. The decree has been signed. Heaven has already responded, and the miracle is already on its way to you. Beloved son, beloved daughter, as you continue to hear my voice, know that there is already invisible movement all around you. Nothing you are experiencing now is by accident. I am the God who works in silence, who moves behind the scenes, who stirs things you cannot see. Even when it seemed like nothing was happening, I was already organizing everything for your miracle to arrive at the perfect time. An army of angels is at work right now. They may not be visible to your eyes, but they are already working in specific areas of your life. They are touching hearts, opening doors, breaking chains, and preparing moments of connection. People are being placed in key positions to cross your path, not by accident, but as a fulfillment of the decree I have spoken over your life. I have already stirred those who owe you a favor. I have already softened the hearts of those who once overlooked you. I have already cleared the paths that were blocked. You will soon see opportunities appear that you never imagined before. These will come as small signs, simple details that lead to great outcomes. It might be an unexpected message, a new connection on any given day, or an unplanned proposal. Many will call it coincidence, but you will know that it was I who moved everything into place. I hide treasures in the simplest places. I place keys in small moments to show you that I am in control, and nothing escapes my reach. Learn to recognize my work even in the smallest things. When someone's heart opens to you for no clear reason, understand that it is I who have touched them. When a resource shows up from an unexpected source, know that it is I who provided it. When a door opens without you having the strength to push it open, remember it is I who made a way. The unseen movement I am making now is the foundation of the miracle I have already set in motion. You may not see it with your eyes yet, but your spirit can already feel it stirring. I am the God who aligns everything. Even what seemed to work against you, I will turn around for your good. The situations that once caused you trouble will be turned around as a testimony of my faithfulness. Conversations that once closed doors will now open new opportunities. Those who seem distant will become sources of blessing. Nothing escapes my sovereignty, for I use even the unlikely to show my power in your life. As you remain in this word, my spirit works in deeper and more powerful ways. Adjust your mind by replacing anxiety with peace. Strengthen your heart by lifting the weight of fear. Cleanse your ears so you can hear when I speak. This preparation is just as crucial as the miracle itself, because I don't just want to give you resources, but also to prepare you to manage them well. A miracle without preparation can easily be lost, but a heart trained in faith will multiply what it receives. I have already issued the decree, set the process in motion, and given the command. The economic miracle I promised is not only on its way, but it is already being put together behind your back, even if you don't see it. While you are listening, contracts are being written, ideas are being formed in the minds of people who will seek you, projects are being brought back into focus, and your name is being spoken in places you never imagined. This is my invisible strategy at work, preparing everything you cannot see, so you can witness it when I reveal it. Trust the process. Do not doubt just because you don't see the results immediately. True faith is not based on what the eyes can see, but on what the heart believes. Even now, you feel that something is different. A new hope is rising within you, a sense that something is about to happen. This is my spirit confirming that you are not dreaming, and you are not mistaken. You are living the fulfillment of what I have decreed. I tell you with love, do not worry about time. What feels like a delay to you is actually preparation. I am a God of precision, and I show up at exactly the right time. When the miracle finally manifests, you will look back and realize that even the silence was part of my plan. Every delay you thought you faced was actually a moment of alignment. Every door that closed was just guiding you toward the right one. Every no you received was actually part of the purpose I set in motion. When your eyes finally see what I've been working on, you will understand that you were never alone. You will realize that your time in the desert was not abandonment, but preparation for the abundance I have for you. You will see that every tear you shed was like an invisible watering can, nurturing the harvest that is now starting to appear. You will realize that the unseen movement of heaven has always been active, and that I am the God who works even when you don't see it. Breathe in peace now. What has been hidden from your eyes is already visible before my throne. Very soon, what you now believe only by faith will become a public testimony for all to see. Beloved son, beloved daughter, listen carefully to what I am about to reveal to you. The economic miracle I have already set in motion in your life is not a distant dream or an empty hope. It has already been declared from my throne. It is already on its way, and it is getting closer to you. To assure you that this word is true, and that you will not mistake my voice for the voices of the world, I will give you 3 clear signs to confirm my work in you. These signs will leave no doubt that it is I who am acting, and each will carry the mark of my presence. The first sign will be a supernatural peace. Even before the problems are solved, even when the bills still seem overwhelming, you will experience a rest that doesn't come from logic. Your soul will feel an inexplicable calm because it will not come from the outside situation, but from my spirit resting upon you. When you notice that you can breathe without anxiety, when your heart finds peace in the middle of chaos, this will be my seal. I am with you, and I have already begun the miracle. Nothing can stop it. Peace is proof that my hand is at work, and when peace arrives, it means heaven has already touched your reality. The second sign will be a persistent idea. It won't be an ordinary thought or a passing fantasy. It will be an inspiration you can't ignore, something simple, yet filled with purpose. This idea will be like a key in your hand. It could be a project that keeps coming to your mind, a new strategy, or a business opportunity that once seemed small but which I have breathed life into, transforming it into something great. When this idea comes to you, do not disregard it. Obey it and put it into action, because through this, I will open doors that were once closed. This is how I turn small things into great ones. I use a simple seed to bring forth an abundant harvest. The third sign will be a person sent by me. They will come to you with a word, a connection, a resource, or an opportunity. You won't be coincidence, manipulation, or pressure. There will be peace in their approach, grace in the contact, and clarity in the purpose. You will know it is from me because everything will flow naturally. This person will be an instrument of my favor, the solution to what you couldn't resolve on your own. It might be someone you already know or someone completely new, but when they arrive, your spirit will recognize that I sent them. Do not ignore this encounter, as it holds one of the keys to your provision. These three signs, peace, idea, and person, will confirm that the promise is already coming to pass. They will come naturally, but with spiritual strength. When peace comes, embrace it as a seal. When the idea comes, follow it as if you've received direct instructions from heaven. When the person arrives, recognize them as the door I've opened before you. Don't complicate things, don't doubt, and don't let anything slip away. These signs are not meant to confuse you, but to guide you clearly. Know that I don't just want to change your upward situation, but to train you to perceive things spiritually. I want you to learn to recognize my voice in every detail. I speak through peace, I inspire with ideas, and I move through people. This is how I connect heaven with earth, the invisible with the visible. When you accept these signs, you speed up the miracle, because faith is shown through obedience. Now I ask you for an act of faith. Comment 777 as a prophetic declaration. This number stands for fullness and perfection, and by writing it, you align yourself with what I have already released over your life. It is not just a number, it is a spiritual decree that echoes in heaven. Every time one of my children responds in faith, I speed up the process. By saying 777, you are declaring before both men and angels, I believe, I receive, I align myself with God's plan. Do not think of it as a small action. Every comment is like planting a seed in fertile soil. I, the Lord, multiply the seeds. You will see that even this simple act of writing will be a spiritual response that speeds up what is already in motion. Just like Cornelius was remembered in heaven for his prayers and offerings, so too will you be remembered for your act of faith. Your financial transformation has already begun. Now get ready to recognize the signs. When peace fills your heart, rejoice, for I am confirming it to you. When the idea keeps coming to your mind, obey, because I am giving you the key. When the person reaches out to you, honor that moment, for I am opening the door. These signs are my signature, so you will know it's not just a dream. It is real. Receive it with faith, comment with conviction, and hold it in your heart. The movement has already started, and no one can stop what I have planned for you. Beloved son, beloved daughter, I haven't brought you this far just to put resources into your hands. I've brought you here to align your heart with my purpose, because the miracle I'm sending can't be maintained in a weak structure. You can't put new wine into old wineskins. You can't fill a heart bound by fear, ingratitude, or disorder with abundance. It's why I'm inviting you today to a spiritual cleansing, an inner preparation that will make space for what I am about to pour out, so it can remain and multiply. Many ask for abundance, but few prepare themselves to manage it. I don't want what I give you to be wasted. I don't want the resources I send to become a burden, or the blessing to be an obstacle. As a loving father, I prepare my children to receive. That's why, before giving more, I ask you to honor what you already have. Look around you and pay attention. Even though it may seem small, everything you have today is a seed. When you take care of the little you have with gratitude, I release much more. When you manage what seems small as if it were great, I trust you with even greater responsibilities. Today, I tell you to let go of what does not help you grow. Break the cycles that only drain your energy. Forgive those who have hurt you, for holding on to unforgiveness stops the new from flowing into your life. Close the doors to habits that waste your resources, whether it be time, money, or faith. The miracle I am sending requires space. If your heart is filled with fear, anxiety, and complaining, how can I fill it with peace, abundance, and joy? You must empty it of the old to receive the new. I don't just want to change your numbers, I want to change your way of thinking. I want you to learn to live with constant gratitude, celebrating even the smallest victories. I want you to trust me every step of the way, instead of carrying the burden of controlling everything yourself. I want you to learn to obey even when you don't understand, because obedience opens doors that human effort cannot. The preparation I ask of you today is a covenant and agreement of obedience, faith, and right management. Son, daughter, do not fear. I am not asking for impossible perfection. I ask for your sincere surrender. If you surrender to me, if you choose to trust and follow my voice, I will give you more than you could imagine. The covenant I make with you today is for your good. It's so that the miracle I send will not be lost but will last and bear fruit. By purifying your spiritual atmosphere, I will align your external circumstances. By freeing you from what holds you back, I release what has been stopping you. By closing the wrong doors, I will open the right ones. Internal preparation speeds up the external result. Every step you take in obedience is the key to releasing provision. Now, I invite you to act with faith, not only for yourself, but also as a channel for others. Share this message, and by doing so, you declare that you agree with what I have spoken, and you plant hope in someone's life who needs to hear it. Perhaps there is someone near you today, crying as you once cried, struggling as you have struggled, seeking an answer. The simple act of sending this word could be the key that opens their heart. And I, the Lord, reward those who hold nothing back, but share what they have received. I am the God who multiplies the seeds. What you share will never be in vain. It will return to you multiplied. When you share faith, you reap faith. When you share hope, you reap hope. When you share abundance, you reap abundance. So do not keep this word to yourself.
Chosen one. The enemies are about to lose everything. I repeat, the enemies are about to lose everything. Chosen one. You are not here by accident. You did not click on this message by chance or curiosity. This moment has been orchestrated by heaven with precision. The same God who sees in secret has aligned your steps to hear this word at the exact second your spirit was strong enough to receive it. You are standing on the edge of a supernatural turning point, a divine reversal where justice, elevation, and heaven-sent increase begin to move in your favor. Chosen one. This message is for the one who has endured betrayal, loss, and unfair treatment in silence. You did the right thing. You walked with integrity. You stayed faithful while others took advantage of your effort, your ideas, your money, or your name. You have carried the weight of injustice, quietly trusting God when nothing made sense, believing that the law of heaven would eventually speak on your behalf. Hear this clearly. When we speak of enemies, we are not only speaking of people, but of systems, forces, and spiritual resistance that drained your resources, blocked your wealth, and delayed your rise. Those forces are being confronted now. Chosen one, by the end of this message, the heaviness you have carried will begin to lift. Clarity will return. Faith will rise. You will begin to recognize the flow of wealth and restoration being realigned toward you. Stay with this message until the end and allow your faith to be strengthened layer by layer. If this word resonates with your spirit, comment 777 as a sign of alignment and write the city or place where you are watching from, because divine justice does not remain abstract, it manifests where you stand. The enemies who stole from you are not about to apologize. They are not preparing an explanation. They are not planning to quietly return what they took and walk away unchanged. What is unfolding now goes far deeper than repayment. What is unfolding is exposure, collapse, and divine reversal. What they built on deception is losing its spiritual support. The structures that seemed stable were only standing because heaven allowed time to run its course. That time has reached its limit. There are moments in life when loss feels random, confusing, even cruel. But what you walked through was not accidental. It was not poor judgment. It was not weakness. What happened to you was deliberate. There was intention behind it. There was awareness behind it. What was taken from you was not only material, it was spiritual. It was time. It was momentum. It was peace. It was confidence. It was the ease you once carried before you learned how calculated some people can be. I want to speak clearly here because clarity breaks shame. This was not a misunderstanding. This was not miscommunication. This was not everyone trying their best. What occurred was a calculated theft, and it targeted something far more valuable than money. It targeted what you carry. There are people who can tolerate your success, but cannot tolerate your light. They are comfortable benefiting from you as long as you do not outgrow their shadow. The moment your clarity sharpened, the moment your presence carried weight, the moment your vision matured, resistance formed. Chosen one. What irritated them was not your ambition, it was your anointing. You carry something that exposes shortcuts, laziness, manipulation, and false authority without you ever opening your mouth. Some people steal because they know they cannot compete. They borrow because they know they cannot build. They sabotage because they know they cannot replicate what flows naturally through you. I have lived this. I know what it feels like to watch someone advance using what you labored for. I know the confusion of seeing doors open for them while yours felt sealed. I know the quiet prayer that says, "God, did I miss something?" I know the nights where you replay conversations, decisions, moments, wondering where you were, too trusting, too generous, too patient. That questioning did not come from foolishness. It came from integrity, trying to make sense of injustice. They did not just take resources. They took years. They took emotional capacity. They took your ability to trust without flinching. They took energy that should have been compounding in your own life. And for a season, it looked like they got away with it. It looked like there were no consequences. It looked like silence. But silence is not absence. Silence is often evidence that something legal is happening in the unseen. There is a spiritual law that cannot be bypassed, delayed indefinitely, or negotiated away. When someone touches what God has marked, they do not enter a rivalry with you. They enter a case with heaven. Justice does not always arrive quickly, but it always arrives precisely. Heaven does not respond with emotion. Heaven responds with evidence. God's stillness was not indifference. It was restraint. Evidence was being collected. Patterns were being allowed to fully reveal themselves. Motives were being exposed, not to you, but to the court that actually matters. There are moments when God allows someone to rise higher than they should, only so that the fall will be unmistakable and final, not dramatic, final. This is why what is coming will not feel chaotic. It will feel ordered. It will feel sudden but correct. You will not need to explain it. You will not need to defend it. You will recognize it by the peace that accompanies it. There is an ancient pattern in Scripture that reveals how this works. A powerful man once invested his time, resources, and influence into building a device meant to destroy a righteous man. He thought he was preparing an ending. In reality, he was constructing his own exposure. What looked like planning was actually self-incrimination. What looked like dominance was delay before reversal. That same principle is active now. The trap that was engineered for you did not miss its target. It simply landed on the wrong person. Chosen one. Understand this: you were never meant to intervene. You were never meant to retaliate. You were never meant to correct the narrative with force. That would have removed the legal right for heaven to act fully. You were protected by restraint, even when restraint felt costly. What is unfolding now is not a one-for-one exchange. This is not balance. This is restoration with interest. When theft is exposed, the consequence is not merely return. It is loss of authority, loss of covering, loss of influence. The weight they carried because of deception cannot remain once truth is activated. I want to ground this in reality for a moment, because prophetic language must land in real life to build faith. This may look like a position suddenly opening that you were told would never be yours. It may look like a conversation you were excluded from becoming the very place your name is reconsidered. It may look like someone who blocked you being quietly removed. It may look like an institution restructuring. It may look like alliances breaking down unexpectedly. You may not hear an apology. You may not receive a confession, but you will see alignment, and alignment is louder than words. What they held was never ownership. It was escrow. What they benefited from was temporary access. That access is expiring, and when it does, you are not stepping into chaos. You are stepping into prepared ground. This is not about ego. This is not about proving anything. This is about demonstration. When God restores, He does so in a way that leaves no confusion about who defended you. You are not being elevated to shame anyone. You are being elevated to establish order. There is a table being prepared not for spectacle, but for witness. Those who doubted your integrity will quietly adjust their language. Those who underestimated your endurance will rethink their assumptions. Those who assumed your silence meant weakness will recognize maturity too late to benefit from it. Before we go further, I need to say this with seriousness and care. How you carry what comes next matters. Justice does not grant permission to harden. Vindication does not authorize pride. The final test of the chosen is character after reversal. When the weight shifts, humility keeps you aligned. You are not being trusted with restoration because you are perfect. You are being trusted because you learned restraint under pressure. You learned how to stay clean in dirty situations. You learned how to wait without rotting. That is rare. That is why heaven is responding. What you are stepping into will not require striving. It will require surrender. Let go of the need to monitor outcomes. Let go of the need to track their downfall. Let go of the need to narrate the process. Your responsibility now is to remain open, grounded, and receptive. Take a breath here, not as a pause, but as recognition. Something has shifted. You can feel it in the way this landed. This is not hype, this is confirmation, and this is only the beginning of the restoration that has already been approved. There is a moment that comes after injustice when the soul grows tired of asking questions. Not angry anymore, not desperate, just quietly exhausted from carrying what should never have been yours to hold. That moment is sacred because it is often the exact point where heaven begins to move on your behalf without asking for your input. Chosen one. You reach that place. You stop trying to explain. You stop trying to prove. You stop trying to chase clarity from people who benefited from your confusion. And in that stillness, something shifted. When striving ends, alignment begins. I want you to understand something deeply important. The delay you experienced was not because God needed more time. It was because you needed more authority. Authority is not given lightly. It is earned through endurance, restraint, and obedience when obedience feels unrewarded. What you walked through trained you to carry what is coming without being corrupted by it. Some of you are wondering why this reversal is happening now and not earlier. Why did it take this long? Why did you have to lose so much first? The answer is not punishment. The answer is capacity. If restoration had come too early, it would have crushed you. If vindication had come before healing, it would have poisoned you. Timing was mercy, even when it felt like absence. I remember a season in my own life when something I built was taken from me quietly, professionally, legally, and yet deeply personally. On paper, it looked like a clean transaction. In reality, it felt like theft dressed in politeness. For a long time, nothing happened. No correction, no exposure, no justice. And I kept thinking, did I mishear God? What I didn't realize then was that God was not correcting the situation. He was correcting me. He was refining how I trusted, how I listened, how I released control. Then one day, without warning, alignment returned. Not because I fought harder, but because I stopped fighting at all. Doors that had been locked by human authority opened without effort. Conversations I was never invited into began happening without my involvement. What I lost was restored, but not in the same form. It came back multiplied, cleaner, and without the emotional cost attached to the original version. That is how divine justice works. It does not always restore the same object. It restores position. Chosen one. What is being returned to you is not simply money or opportunity. It is standing. It is influence. It is voice. It is the ability to move forward without carrying the residue of what hurt you. That is why this moment matters so much. If you try to measure it only in material terms, you will miss the magnitude of what is happening. There are spiritual laws that govern increase. One of them is, this nothing stolen can remain hidden forever. Exposure is not a punishment, it is a consequence, and consequences do not require your participation, they require alignment. You may begin to notice something subtle before anything dramatic happens. People may speak differently around you. Decision makers may pause longer than usual before dismissing you. Opportunities that once felt inaccessible may start appearing without effort. These are not coincidences. These are indicators. Indicators that the weight in the room has shifted. There is also something else happening that is just as important. The hold the enemy had on your mind is weakening. You are thinking more clearly, reacting less emotionally, resting more deeply. That is not detachment. That is recovery. That is the return of internal order. I need to speak plainly here. Some of what you lost was never meant to be recovered in its original form. Some relationships will not be restored. Some doors will remain closed. And that is not loss. That is protection. Restoration does not mean returning to the same environment that allowed harm in the first place. Restoration means being repositioned where harm cannot follow. The people who stole from you believed that silence meant safety. They mistook patience for permission. They assumed that because there was no immediate consequence, there would be no consequence at all. That assumption is collapsing now, not loudly, not dramatically, methodically. When God moves in justice, He does not announce it to the guilty. He announces it to the aligned. That is why this message found you now and not them. You are being prepared to recognize what is yours when it returns. You are being trained to receive without fear, suspicion, or self-sabotage. There is a temptation at this stage to scan for signs of their downfall, to watch for evidence, to wait for confirmation. Resist that urge. That focus belongs to the old season. The new season requires forward attention. What is behind you is being handled. What is ahead of you requires your presence. I want you to hear this clearly. You did not lose because you were weak. You lost because you were clean. You were not defeated. You were spared from becoming what harmed you. That preservation is why you are trusted with what is coming. Wealth, when it arrives through divine alignment, feels different. It does not carry anxiety. It does not demand constant defense. It does not require compromise. It comes with peace. It comes with clarity. It comes with stewardship rather than survival. Some of you will experience this as a sudden financial opening. Others will experience it as long-term stability replacing chronic uncertainty. Others will experience it as influence returning without effort. All of it is restoration. All of it is intentional. Do not rush the process now. Acceleration does not mean haste. It means precision. Every step that opens next will feel strangely calm. That calm is confirmation. You are not entering a season of noise. You are entering a season of order. And order is where multiplication lives. Stay present. Stay surrendered. Stay receptive. The shift is already in motion, and it is unfolding exactly as it should. There is another layer to this moment that most people miss, and it is not visible on the surface. When restoration begins, it does not only rearrange circumstances, it reveals truth. And truth can feel uncomfortable before it feels freeing. This is why some of you have sensed a strange mix of peace and unease at the same time. Peace because you know something has shifted. Unease because clarity is sharpening, and clarity changes how you see everything. Chosen one. The return of what was stolen also brings discernment about what should never be allowed near you again. This is not bitterness, this is wisdom. Wisdom is the residue left behind when pain is fully processed instead of suppressed. You are no longer operating from naivety, you are operating from awareness. There are people who benefited from your generosity but never respected your boundaries. There were environments that rewarded your effort but ignored your well-being. There were systems that used your ideas without honoring your contribution. For a long time you tried to make those spaces work because you believed endurance was the same as faithfulness. It is not. Faithfulness includes stewardship of your own soul. I remember learning this the hard way. There was a time when I believed staying quiet was humility, when in reality it was fear of disruption. I stayed in places that drained me because I thought leaving would mean failure. What I did not understand then was that God does not measure success by how long you tolerate what is misaligned. He measures it by how quickly you respond when alignment shifts. Chosen one. Alignment has shifted for you. This is why you are feeling less inclined to explain yourself, less compelled to convince, less willing to negotiate your worth. That is not arrogance. That is authority settling in. Authority does not announce itself loudly. It simply takes up space without apology. As restoration unfolds, you may notice that certain people grow uncomfortable around you, not because you changed, but because they can no longer access you the way they used to. Your clarity removes leverage. Your peace removes control. Your silence removes manipulation. And that can be deeply unsettling to those who relied on your openness to take advantage. Do not mistake their discomfort for your responsibility. There is also something else happening beneath the surface. The shame that once tried to attach itself to your loss is dissolving. Shame always lies. It tells you that if something was taken, you must have deserved it. That if you were bypassed, you must not have been enough. That if you were mistreated, you must have misjudged. Shame collapses under truth. And truth is rising now. What happened to you does not define your future. it refined your discernment. This is why heaven can now trust you with more, not because you became harder, but because you became clearer, not because you lost compassion, but because you learned where compassion belongs and where it does not. There is a subtle but powerful transition happening within you. You are moving from survival thinking into stewardship thinking. Survival asks, how do I protect myself? Stewardship asks, what am I responsible for carrying well? This shift is critical because what is coming next will require intentional care, not constant defense. When wealth returns without healing, it reopens wounds. When influence returns without discernment, it recreates cycles. But when restoration meets maturity, it multiplies without corruption. Chosen one, you have done the internal work, even when you didn't realize it. Every night you questioned your choices. Every moment you resisted bitterness. Every time you chose restraint over retaliation. Those were not passive moments. Those were investments, and they are paying dividends now. You may not recognize the return immediately because it will not always look like a dramatic reversal. Sometimes restoration looks like stability after chaos. Sometimes it looks like consistency after volatility. Sometimes it looks like finally being able to breathe without bracing for loss. Do not underestimate these signs. They are evidence that the atmosphere around you has changed. I want to speak to those of you who are afraid to hope again. Afraid that if you open your heart, something will be taken again. That fear is understandable, but it does not belong in the next season. The answer to past loss is not closed hands. It is wiser stewardship. Open hands guided by discernment are powerful. God is not asking you to trust blindly. He is asking you to trust with wisdom. As you move forward, you will notice that opportunities no longer feel rushed. The urgency that once pressured you to decide quickly is gone. In its place is clarity. Peace does not push. Peace confirms. If something requires you to abandon your values to access it, it is not restoration. If something demands secrecy to succeed, it is not alignment. What is coming to you will not require compromise. There is a reason the timing feels deliberate. This is not a season for scrambling. This is a season for receiving. You may also notice that your prayers are changing. You are no longer asking God to fix things. You are asking Him to order them. That shift matters. Fixing implies brokenness. Ordering implies authority. You are not broken. You are being repositioned. Chosen one. There will be moments when you are tempted to look back and measure how far others have fallen. Resist that temptation. Comparison belongs to the old order. What matters now is how clearly you can see forward. The future being prepared for you requires focus, not reflection. You are not being restored to prove anyone wrong. You are being restored to fulfill what was delayed. That fulfillment will speak for itself. Let your heart stay soft. Let your boundaries stay firm. Let your trust be guided, not guarded by fear. This is how you carry what is returning without losing yourself again. Take another breath here. Feel the steadiness that is replacing tension. That steadiness is not temporary. It is the foundation for what is being built now. There is a sacred responsibility that comes with restoration, and it is rarely talked about because it requires maturity to receive it. When heaven returns what was stolen, it also returns choice. Choice over how you build next. Choice over who has access. Choice over whether you repeat old patterns or establish new ones. This is where many people stumble, not because they are ungrateful, but because they underestimate the weight of what they are being trusted with. Chosen one. The next season is not asking you to prove strength. It is asking you to practice discernment in calm conditions. You learned how to survive under pressure. Now you must learn how to steward in peace. There is a difference between being protected and being prepared. Protection keeps harm away. Preparation teaches you how to carry increase without inviting harm back in. What you are entering now is preparation, and preparation requires honesty with yourself. Some of the doors that are opening will look familiar. They may resemble opportunities you once prayed for, dreamed about, or even lost. But they will feel different. There will be no desperation attached, no urgency to accept before thinking, no fear of missing out. That is how you will know it is aligned. Alignment does not rush you, it anchors you. I want to speak to the internal shift happening right now. You are becoming less reactive and more responsive, less emotionally pulled by outcomes and more grounded in discernment. That shift is not accidental. It is evidence that authority is being restored internally before it manifests externally. Authority always begins on the inside. I have watched people receive sudden restoration without this internal shift, and I have seen how quickly it overwhelmed them. Not because the blessing was wrong, but because the timing was premature. You were spared from that. What felt like delay was actually insulation. God was protecting the version of you that would eventually need to carry this weight without breaking. There will be moments in this season where you feel tempted to explain your story, to tell people what really happened, to clarify misconceptions, to correct narratives, and there is nothing wrong with truth. But not all truth needs to be spoken by you. Some truth is revealed by time. Some truth is revealed by alignment. Some truth is revealed by outcome. Let outcome speak where explanation once tried to survive. Chosen one. You do not need to convince anyone of your worth now. Your consistency will do that. Your stability will do that. Your peace will do that. The way you move without panic will do that. Another thing you may notice is that your tolerance for disorder is decreasing. You are less willing to entertain confusion, less patient with environments that lack integrity, less flexible with boundaries that once felt negotiable. This is not rigidity, this is clarity, and clarity is necessary for stewardship. The next level of your life will require fewer people, not more. Fewer commitments, not more. Fewer distractions, not more. Expansion does not always add. Sometimes it subtracts to make room. This is where discernment becomes practical. Who drains you after conversations? Who requires constant reassurance? Who subtly pressures you to minimize your growth to remain comfortable? Those dynamics matter now. Not because you are judging, but because you are responsible for what you allow near what is growing. I learned this lesson when restoration came to me quietly. It was not loud, it was not dramatic, it was subtle. And because it was subtle, it was easy to overlook how quickly it attracted attention. People who once ignored me began to reappear. Opportunities that once felt out of reach suddenly felt accessible. And in that moment I realized that restoration is not just about receiving, it is about selecting. You are selecting now. You are selecting who hears your ideas before they are formed, who sees your plans before they are complete, who has access to your time when your time becomes valuable again. These choices will determine how sustainable this next season becomes. Chosen one. Heaven is not only restoring what was taken, heaven is restoring discernment that was dulled by betrayal. You are seeing more clearly now. Trust that. Honor that. Do not override it to be polite. There will also be moments where you grieve what was lost, even as you are being restored. That grief is valid. Loss leaves an imprint. Healing does not erase memory. It reassigns meaning. Allow yourself to feel without interpreting those feelings as doubt. You are not conflicted. You are human. What matters is that you do not build your future while standing in the shadow of your past. Acknowledge what happened, learn from it, but do not let it dictate how you receive what is coming. You are no longer operating from scarcity. You are operating from sufficiency. That means you do not need to chase. You do not need to compete. You do not need to overextend. What belongs to you will align with you. There is a peace that accompanies true restoration, and it does not depend on circumstances. It settles in the body. It calms the nervous system. It slows reactions. If you are feeling that peace, even in small ways, pay attention. That is not emotional numbness. That is safety returning. Chosen one. Safety is not something you must earn. It is something you allow when trust is rebuilt internally. As this season unfolds, you may find yourself praying differently, not begging, not bargaining, but listening. That shift matters. Listening positions you to receive instruction, not just relief. And instruction is what sustains restoration long term. There is wisdom available to you now that was not accessible before pain shaped you. You are not the same person who entered that loss. You are clearer, stronger, more grounded. That is why what is returning will stay. Do not rush this season. Do not test it by forcing outcomes. Let things unfold at their intended pace. You are not late. You are exactly on time. Take another breath here. Feel the steadiness in your chest. That steadiness is not fragile. It is the foundation upon which the next chapter is being built. There is a quiet confidence that begins to form when restoration becomes real, not because everything is perfect, but because fear no longer has the final word. This confidence does not announce itself. It does not need validation. It settles into your posture, your decisions, your pace. And once it settles, nothing external can easily shake it. Chosen one. This is the confidence that comes from knowing you survived what was meant to break you, and you did not become bitter in the process. You did not lose your integrity. You did not trade your soul for survival. That matters more than you realize, because the next season of your life will require inner stability more than outer strength. Many people think wealth is about accumulation, but heaven views wealth as flow. What you resisted in the last season was stagnation. What you are stepping into now is circulation. Circulation of ideas, circulation of resources, circulation of influence. And flow only remains healthy when it moves through clean channels. You are a clean channel. This is why you had to endure pruning, not because you were wrong, but because you were becoming ready. Pruning is never punishment. It is preparation for fruit that can be sustained. And sustained fruit requires roots that go deep enough to hold weight without collapsing. There is something important happening in your emotional world right now. You are no longer reacting to reminders of the past with the same intensity. Situations that once triggered anxiety now pass through you without anchoring. Conversations that once stirred frustration now feel distant. That is not suppression. That is healing. Healing changes how memory behaves. The past no longer controls your nervous system. And when your nervous system stabilizes, your discernment sharpens. You are able to sense alignment without overthinking. You are able to decline invitations without guilt. You are able to say yes without fear of being trapped. This is where authority begins to express itself naturally. Chosen. 1. I want you to understand something deeply. You do not owe access to anyone who benefited from your former version. You do not owe explanations to people who did not protect you when they had the chance. You do not owe proximity to those who only valued you when you were convenient. Release that obligation. Freedom is not cutting people off aggressively. Freedom is no longer being pulled toward what does not honor your growth. You are allowed to move on quietly. You are allowed to choose differently. You are allowed to build without announcing. The restoration you are experiencing is not meant to be consumed all at once. It is meant to be stewarded slowly. This is why patience is returning to you. Not forced patience, but natural patience. The kind that comes from trust rather than fear. Fear rushes. Trust waits. You may notice that your relationship with time is changing. You feel less pressured to catch up, less obsessed with timelines, less anxious about progress. That shift is significant. It means you are no longer measuring your worth by outcomes. You are measuring alignment by peace. Peace is the confirmation now. There is also a strengthening of your inner boundaries taking place. You are becoming more selective with what you entertain mentally. You are less willing to spiral into hypothetical outcomes. You stop certain thoughts before they finish forming. That is not avoidance. That is discipline. Discipline is not restriction. It is protection for what matters. As wealth, opportunity, or influence begins to re-enter your life, there will be moments when old voices try to resurface. Voices that whisper doubt, voices that remind you of what went wrong before, voices that question whether this will last. Those voices are not prophetic, they are echoes. Echoes lose power when they are not answered. Do not argue with echoes. Keep moving. Chosen one. What is coming into your life now is coming with instruction. Not instruction that feels heavy or controlling, but guidance that feels intuitive. You may feel prompted to organize, to simplify, to prepare to release certain habits, or to refine certain skills. Follow those nudges. They are not random. They are alignment cues. Heaven prepares you before it promotes you. I remember a season when restoration began for me quietly. I felt compelled to clean things up in my life that no one else could see. I reorganized how I spent my time. I became more intentional with my energy. I stopped explaining my decisions to people who were not invested in my well-being. At the time it felt subtle. In hindsight it was strategic. Those internal adjustments created space for what came next. You are in that same phase now. This is also a season where humility protects increase. Not performative humility, not self-diminishing humility, but grounded humility. The kind that recognizes that everything you carry now is stewarded, not owned. That perspective keeps your heart clean and your hands open. Chosen one, you are not meant to hoard what is returning. You are meant to circulate it wisely. That does not mean giving everything away. It means understanding purpose, understanding timing, understanding where your yes carries weight and where it does not. Wisdom multiplies resources. Emotion drains them. You have learned that lesson already. That is why you are being trusted again. There will be moments when you realize how much stronger you are now compared to who you were before the loss. Not harder, stronger. Strength without hardness is rare. That is the kind of strength that builds legacy, not just success. Legacy is formed quietly. As this season unfolds, keep choosing presence over projection. Keep choosing alignment over appearance. Keep choosing faith over fear. You do not need to monitor outcomes. You do not need to defend timing. You do not need to prove readiness. You are ready because you endured, you learned, and you did not lose yourself. Take a breath here. Feel the steadiness in your body. That steadiness is not temporary. It is the signal that your internal world is catching up with what heaven has already approved. There comes a moment when restoration stops feeling like a promise and starts feeling like a responsibility, not a burden, but a calling, a quiet awareness that what is returning to you is not simply meant to repair what was broken, but to position you for something larger than you originally imagined. Chosen one, this is that moment. You are no longer waiting for justice. Justice has already been set in motion. What you are learning now is how to walk forward without dragging the weight of the past behind you. This is not denial. This is mastery. Mastery over memory, over emotion, over reaction. Mastery that only comes after you have faced pain honestly and chosen not to live inside it. One of the clearest signs that restoration is real is this: you no longer feel the urge to replay old scenarios. You remember them, yes, but they no longer demand your attention. They no longer hijack your imagination. They no longer determine how you approach new opportunities. That is freedom. Freedom does not shout, it settles. As this freedom settles, you may notice something surprising. Your vision is expanding. You are thinking beyond recovery, beyond getting back to where you were, beyond proving that you can still succeed. You are beginning to think about impact, sustainability, and purpose. That shift is not accidental. It means you are no longer defined by what you lost. You are being defined by what you are here to build. Chosen one, you were never meant to simply reclaim what was taken. You were meant to surpass it. This is why the path ahead will not look like a return to the past. It will look like advancement into something new, something cleaner, something stronger, something that does not require constant defense because it is built on alignment rather than effort. You may feel a sense of gravity around decisions now, not heaviness, but importance. Choices feel more consequential. Time feels more valuable. Energy feels more precious. That awareness is not pressure. It is stewardship awakening. Stewardship changes how you move. You are less likely to overcommit, less likely to say yes impulsively, less likely to tolerate environments that drain clarity. This is not because you are closed off. It is because you are focused. Focus is the currency of this season. There will be moments when people from the past reappear, not always to apologize, not always to reconcile, sometimes simply to see where you are now. How you respond internally matters more than what you say externally. You do not need to reopen doors to prove healing. Healing speaks through boundaries just as much as it speaks through forgiveness. Forgiveness does not require access. Chosen one, you are allowed to forgive fully and still move forward without revisiting what wounded you. That is not hardness. That is wisdom matured through experience. As wealth, influence, or stability begins to settle into your life again, you may feel an unexpected sense of quiet. Not the silence of waiting, but the quiet of order. Chaos demands attention. Order creates space. In that space, creativity returns, vision returns, energy returns. You may start to feel inspired again in ways you forgot were possible. Ideas come without force. Solutions appear without panic. Confidence rises without comparison. These are not personality changes. They are indicators that your nervous system is no longer operating in survival mode. Survival mode blocks creativity. Safety restores it. I want to speak directly to those of you who are afraid that enjoying this season will make you vulnerable again. That fear is understandable, but it does not belong in this chapter. Enjoyment does not invite loss. Carelessness does. And you are not careless anymore. You have discernment now. Discernment does not make you suspicious. It makes you selective. You know the difference between opportunity and distraction. You sense when something aligns with your values and when it only appeals to ego. That discernment will protect what you build far more effectively than fear ever could. Chosen one. You are not being asked to relive the past to avoid repeating it. You are being asked to integrate its lessons and move forward with clarity. This is also a season where your voice carries weight. Not because you are louder, but because you are grounded. People may seek your perspective. They may ask how you stayed steady when things fell apart. You do not need to dramatize your story. Your presence will answer most questions without words. Presence is powerful when it is not trying to impress. There is also a humbling truth in this season. Some of the people who hurt you did not realize the full impact of what they were doing. That does not excuse them, but it releases you from carrying unnecessary resentment. Resentment is heavy. You do not need it now. You are moving too quickly forward to carry unnecessary weight. As you continue, you may find yourself redefining success. Success is no longer just about results. It is about sustainability, about peace, about alignment between who you are and what you do. That redefinition will guide your decisions more accurately than ambition ever did. Ambition pushes, alignment pulls. Chosen one, trust the pull you feel now. It is not restlessness, it is direction. You are being drawn toward environments that can support who you have become, not who you used to be. That may mean leaving certain roles, routines, or relationships behind, not in anger, in clarity. Clarity does not require explanation. There will be moments when gratitude rises unexpectedly. Not forced gratitude, but deep appreciation for what you learned through hardship. That gratitude is not approval of pain. It is recognition of growth. Growth that now allows you to stand where you are without resentment. You did not waste those years. They refined you. And now as you step fully into what is being restored and expanded, remember this: you are not walking alone. You are walking with wisdom, earned discernment, sharpened, and faith deepened. That combination is rare. That is why what you build now will last. Take one more breath here. Notice how your body feels. Notice the absence of urgency. Notice the presence of steadiness. That steadiness is not temporary. It is the evidence that restoration is no longer a promise ahead of you. It is a reality you are already living inside. Chosen one, take a deep breath and let your spirit settle. Do you feel that shift? That is not imagination. That is alignment. The spiritual work that needed to be completed has been completed, and what remains now is manifestation. You are not standing in hope alone. You are standing in your Kairos moment, your divinely appointed time where heaven and earth are meeting on your behalf. Anointed one. The transfer you have sensed is already in motion. What was delayed is being released. What was hidden is being revealed. What was held back is now being reassigned to you with precision and purpose. Do not rush. Do not strive. Stay faithful, stay grounded, and let gratitude lead you forward. God's silence has done its work, and His timing will speak louder than any explanation ever could. As you move into the days ahead, guard your heart, remain humble, and steward well what is coming. You did not endure for nothing. You were prepared for this. Walk gently, walk wisely, and walk expectantly, knowing that heaven has gone before you. If this word resonated with your spirit, remain connected to this flow. Subscribe and stay aligned with what God is releasing here. And if you feel led, share where you're watching from, your city, your place, as a quiet act of agreement, because divine order does not stay abstract. It manifests where you stand. Go in peace, chosen one. The reversal is active. The blessing is released. And what comes next will confirm everything your spirit already knows.
Dios te dice hoy, te lo prometí y lo realizaré. Todo saldrá bien, porque este mensaje no llega a tus oídos por accidente. Llega porque tu espíritu necesitaba escuchar una confirmación clara, directa y firme del cielo. Hay momentos en la vida en los que una sola palabra de Dios es suficiente para sostenerte. Y hoy esa palabra viene cargada de promesa, de verdad y de esperanza. Dios no está hablando de manera general, está hablándote a ti, justo en la etapa que estás atravesando. Has caminado por un proceso que no ha sido sencillo, una espera que se ha extendido más de lo que imaginabas. días en los que sentiste que todo avanzaba lento, semanas donde parecía que nada se movía y temporadas donde la fe se sostenía más por decisión que por emoción. Aunque seguiste adelante, aunque cumpliste con tus responsabilidades y mostraste fortaleza, dentro de ti hubo preguntas que nunca dijiste en voz alta, preguntas que solo Dios escuchó, dudas que no compartiste con nadie, pero que pesaron en tu corazón. Y hoy Dios se acerca con una certeza que atraviesa cualquier temor y te dice: no he olvidado lo que te prometí, no he cambiado de opinión sobre tu vida, no he retrocedido en mis planes contigo. Lo que dije que haría, lo haré. Esta palabra no es una ilusión ni un deseo vacío. Es una declaración firme del cielo para recordarte que tu historia no se quedó estancada, aunque así lo hayas sentido en algunos momentos. Tal vez te has preguntado cómo puede salir todo bien cuando has pasado por etapas tan difíciles, cuando has tenido que soltar cosas que amabas, cuando algunas puertas se cerraron sin explicación y cuando ciertos caminos no se dieron como esperabas. Pero Dios quiere que entiendas algo hoy. Lo que estás viviendo ahora no es el final del proceso, es una parte necesaria del camino. Lo que ves hoy no define lo que Dios hará mañana. Dios trabaja de formas que no siempre puedes percibir. Mientras tú veías silencio, Él estaba moviendo piezas. Mientras tú sentías demora, Él estaba alineando caminos. Mientras tú pensabas que todo estaba detenido, Dios estaba preparando exactamente lo que te prometió. Nada ha estado fuera de control, nada se perdió, nada se retrasó sin propósito. Dios también ha visto cada esfuerzo silencioso. Cada vez que fuiste fuerte sin sentirte fuerte, cada mañana que te levantaste con el corazón cansado pero decidiste seguir, cada oración que hiciste aún sin saber cómo terminarla, cada lágrima que derramaste en secreto, todo fue visto, todo fue escuchado, todo fue registrado. Por eso hoy Dios te recuerda con amor: no te traje hasta aquí para dejarte a mitad del camino, no permití que atravesaras tanto para terminar vacío. No te sostuve tantas veces para soltarte ahora. Hay una razón por la que sigues aquí escuchando este mensaje, y es porque lo que viene tiene sentido, propósito y cumplimiento. Dios te está diciendo hoy que lo que abrirá será mayor que lo que se cerró, que lo que traerá será mejor que lo que perdiste, que lo que cumplirá superará incluso lo que imaginaste en un inicio. Dios no improvisa, Dios no falla, Dios no llega tarde, y aunque el proceso haya sido incómodo, no fue en vano. La Biblia dice en Números 23:19 que Dios no es hombre para que mienta, ni hijo de hombre para que se arrepienta. Lo dijo Él y no lo hará, habló y no lo ejecutará. Esa palabra sigue viva hoy y se aplica directamente a tu vida. Si Dios te lo prometió, Él mismo se encargará de cumplirlo. Esta es una confirmación para tu corazón, una luz en medio de la incertidumbre, una verdad que no cambia aunque las circunstancias lo intenten. Dios te pide hoy algo sencillo pero poderoso. Escucha con el corazón abierto. Permite que esta palabra entre como esperanza firme, no como un deseo pasajero, porque no son palabras humanas, son palabras del cielo para ti. Antes de continuar, escribe en los comentarios esta frase como un acto de fe y de confianza: Dios cumplirá lo que me prometió. Esta es solo la primera parte del mensaje que Dios tiene para tu vida hoy. No te desconectes, permanece escuchando, porque lo que sigue traerá aún más claridad sobre tu proceso, tu espera y el cumplimiento que se acerca. Dios te dice hoy: te lo prometí y lo realizaré. Todo saldrá bien, porque Él conoce cada etapa que has atravesado para llegar hasta aquí. Nada de lo que viviste fue invisible para Dios. Él vio los días en los que avanzabas con confianza, pero también los días en los que sentías que estabas retrocediendo. Conoció tus momentos de fe firme y también aquellos en los que el desánimo intentó ganar terreno en tu corazón. Hay promesas que Dios sembró en tu vida hace tiempo. Promesas que un día encendieron tu esperanza, que te impulsaron a creer, a soñar, a dar pasos que no habrías dado por ti mismo. Pero con el paso de los años, la espera se volvió pesada, y en medio de esa espera, comenzaste a preguntarte en silencio si todo realmente se cumpliría, si no habrías entendido mal, si no habría pasado demasiado tiempo. Hoy Dios quiere corregir ese pensamiento con amor. La espera no fue castigo, la espera fue preparación. no fue una demora sin sentido. Fue un proceso necesario para que lo que viene no te dañe, no te desvíe y no te robe la paz. Si Dios hubiera cumplido antes, no habrías tenido la fortaleza, la madurez ni la claridad para sostener lo que estaba por entregarte. Dios nunca niega una promesa por capricho. Si algo tardó, no fue por desinterés, fue por formación. Porque las promesas de Dios no solo se reciben, se administran. Y para administrarlas correctamente, Dios tuvo que trabajar primero en tu interior. Tu carácter, tu fe, tu paciencia, tu manera de ver la vida y tu dependencia de Él fueron moldeadas en este proceso. Aunque tú sentías que estabas esperando a Dios, la verdad es que Dios estaba trabajando en ti. Él sabía qué cosas debían ser quitadas de tu vida, qué personas no podían acompañarte a la siguiente etapa, qué pensamientos necesitaban ser transformados, qué puertas debían cerrarse para evitarte dolores mayores. Nada fue al azar. Has pasado por pérdidas que no entendiste en su momento, silencios que dolieron, cambios que no pediste, momentos en los que sentiste que estabas caminando sin una dirección clara. Pero hoy Dios te dice que todo formó parte del camino exacto que te trajo hasta este punto, el punto donde Él vuelve a recordarte su promesa con firmeza. Cuando Dios dice en todo te irá bien, no está diciendo que todo será perfecto o fácil. Está diciendo que incluso lo que parecía negativo terminará obrando a tu favor. Lo que dolió te enseñó, lo que confundió te fortaleció, lo que retrasó te preparó, lo que parecía una pérdida fue en realidad una alineación. Dios no trabaja en línea recta, Dios trabaja con propósito, y todo lo vivido fue necesario para llevarte a una temporada donde verás cumplimiento real. Por eso hoy Dios no quiere que sigas viendo tu proceso como un fracaso. No lo fue. Fue el camino preciso para llevarte a la bendición que Él habló sobre tu vida. La Biblia dice en Isaías 55:11 que la palabra que sale de la boca de Dios no vuelve vacía, sino que hará lo que Él quiere y será prosperada en aquello para lo cual fue enviada. Esa palabra sigue vigente hoy, y esa palabra fue enviada también a tu vida. Dios sabe cuándo entregarte lo que te prometió, ni antes ni después, en el momento exacto, y todo lo que has vivido te ha convertido en alguien listo para recibirlo, listo para valorarlo y listo para sostenerlo sin perderte en el proceso. Hoy Dios te asegura algo con claridad: nada se retrasó, nada se perdió y nada quedó en el olvido. Mientras tú veías silencio, Dios estaba trabajando en secreto. Mientras tú veías demora, Él estaba construyendo caminos. Mientras tú pensabas que todo estaba detenido, Él estaba preparando lo mejor. Antes de continuar, escribe en los comentarios esta frase como una declaración de fe: mi espera tiene propósito y Dios cumplirá. No te detengas ahora. Lo que sigue te ayudará a entender cómo Dios ha estado obrando a tu favor, incluso en los momentos en los que pensaste que nada estaba pasando. Dios te dice hoy: te lo prometí y lo realizaré. Todo saldrá bien, porque Él no solo conoce lo que estás viviendo ahora, sino también todo lo que tuvo que protegerte en el camino. Hay puertas que se cerraron en tu vida y que en su momento te dolieron más de lo que imaginabas. Algunas se cerraron sin explicación, otras cuando más las necesitabas abiertas, y hubo cierres que te dejaron con preguntas que nunca pudiste responder. Pero hoy Dios quiere que entiendas algo con claridad. Cuando una puerta se cierra bajo su voluntad, no es un rechazo, es una redirección. No fue el final de algo bueno, fue la protección de algo mejor. Dios vio caminos que tú no veías, vio consecuencias que tú no imaginabas. Vio cargas que habrían sido demasiado pesadas para tu corazón si hubieras seguido por ahí. Muchas veces pensaste que perdiste oportunidades importantes, pero Dios te libró de decisiones que habrían apagado tu paz, tu fe y tu propósito. Hay cosas que parecían correctas, pero no eran convenientes para la temporada a la que Él te estaba llevando. Y aunque en el momento no lo comprendiste, hoy Dios te recuerda que Él siempre ha sabido hacia dónde dirigirte. Dios es el Dios que abre caminos donde parece que no los hay. No depende de circunstancias favorables ni de permisos humanos. Cuando Él decide mover algo, no hay fuerza que pueda detenerlo. Tú has enfrentado momentos donde sentiste que se agotaban tus opciones, donde mirabas alrededor y no veías salida, donde avanzabas casi a ciegas sin saber si estabas haciendo lo correcto. Pero aún ahí, Dios estaba obrando. Él peleó batallas por ti que tú nunca viste. Te protegió de conversaciones que habrían destruido tu paz. Te sacó de ambientes que frenaban tu crecimiento espiritual. Te quitó personas que no podían caminar contigo hacia donde Él te llevaba. Y aunque en su momento dolió, hoy puedes entender que fue parte de su cuidado. Dios no solo abre puertas, Dios te guía por el camino correcto. Un camino donde aprendes a depender menos del miedo y más de su voz. Un camino donde tu fe deja de ser frágil y comienza a fortalecerse. Un camino donde tu carácter madura y tu visión se expande. Tal vez te has dado cuenta de algo importante. Hay situaciones que antes te angustiaban y hoy ya no te afectan igual. Hay problemas que antes te paralizaban y hoy solo te hacen reflexionar. Hay pensamientos que antes te robaban la paz y hoy ya no tienen el mismo poder sobre ti. Eso no es casualidad. Eso es crecimiento. Eso es evidencia de que Dios no estaba ausente, estaba preparándote. Y ahora estás entrando en una temporada distinta, una etapa donde comenzarás a notar señales de movimiento, cambios sutiles al principio, pero reales, puertas que empiezan a abrirse, personas correctas que aparecen en el momento preciso, respuestas que llegan cuando ya habías aprendido a confiar sin exigir. Cuando Dios decide cumplir una promesa, nada puede detenerlo, no tu pasado, no tus errores, no las veces que dudaste. Lo que Dios habló sobre tu vida no depende de tu perfección, depende de su fidelidad, y Él es fiel. Tal vez durante mucho tiempo sentiste que solo estabas sobreviviendo, que avanzabas por inercia, que hacías lo necesario para no rendirte. Pero Dios te dice hoy que estás entrando en una etapa donde no solo sobrevivirás, comenzarás a avanzar, recuperarás fuerzas, verás frutos. Notarás cómo las cosas empiezan a alinearse sin el mismo esfuerzo de antes. La Biblia dice en Jeremías 29:11 que Dios tiene pensamientos de paz y no de mal para darte un futuro y una esperanza. Esa promesa sigue viva. Y ese futuro no fue cancelado por el tiempo, solo estaba siendo preparado. Muy pronto recordarás este mensaje y entenderás que Dios ya te lo había anunciado. Entenderás que cada cierre tenía sentido, que cada espera tenía propósito, que cada lágrima tenía valor. Nada fue desperdiciado. Antes de seguir avanzando, escribe en los comentarios esta frase como una declaración espiritual. Dios está alineando todo a mi favor. Permanece escuchando. Lo que viene a continuación te ayudará a comprender cómo Dios transforma todo lo que viviste en una plataforma para el cumplimiento completo de su promesa sobre tu vida. Dios te dice hoy, te lo prometí y lo realizaré, todo saldrá bien, porque aunque muchas veces sentiste que estabas detenido, en realidad estabas siendo formado. Hay procesos que no se notan por fuera, pero que transforman profundamente por dentro. Procesos donde no hay aplausos, donde nadie ve el esfuerzo, donde solo Dios es testigo de lo que estás enfrentando en silencio. Tú has vivido una etapa donde aprendiste a esperar sin garantías, a confiar sin señales claras y a seguir adelante aun cuando no tenías certeza del resultado. Eso no fue debilidad, fue entrenamiento espiritual. Dios estaba fortaleciendo tu interior para que no dependieras solo de lo que ves, sino de lo que Él prometió. Muchas veces pensaste que retrocedías, pero Dios estaba reorganizando tu camino, quitando atajos que te habrían hecho daño, corrigiendo direcciones que parecían buenas, pero no eran las correctas, ajustando tiempos para que cuando llegara la bendición no te encontrara inmaduro ni quebrado, sino firme, consciente y preparado. Dios sabe exactamente qué peso puede cargar tu corazón. Por eso no entregó la promesa antes. No fue castigo, fue misericordia. No fue retraso, fue protección. Hay bendiciones que si llegan antes de tiempo se convierten en carga, y Dios nunca te daría algo que pudiera destruirte. En este proceso aprendiste a soltar el control. Aprendiste que no todo se puede forzar, que no todo se resuelve con insistencia humana, que hay batallas que no se ganan luchando más, sino confiando mejor. Y esa lección, aunque dolorosa, te preparó para una etapa distinta. Ahora Dios comienza a mostrarte que todo lo que parecía fragmentado empieza a tomar forma. Lo que parecía inconexo empieza a tener sentido. Las piezas comienzan a encajar, no porque tú las acomodaste, sino porque Dios nunca dejó de hacerlo. La Biblia dice en Romanos 8:28 que todas las cosas ayudan a bien a los que aman a Dios. No algunas cosas, no solo las buenas, todas, incluso las que dolieron, incluso las que no entendiste, incluso las que te hicieron llorar. Dios no desperdicia nada. Tal vez hoy miras atrás y te das cuenta de que ya no reaccionas igual. Ya no te desesperas como antes, ya no te quiebras con la misma facilidad, ya no te defines por lo que otros dicen. Eso es evidencia de que Dios trabajó en tu carácter mientras tú esperabas la promesa. Y ahora viene algo importante. Cuando Dios comienza a cumplir lo que prometió, lo hace de manera completa, no a medias, no improvisado, no con errores. Él cumple mejor de lo que imaginaste, supera expectativas, corrige heridas, restaura áreas que ni siquiera sabías que estaban dañadas. Por eso Dios te pide hoy que no mires tu proceso como un tiempo perdido. Fue una inversión eterna, fue una preparación profunda, fue una poda necesaria para que el fruto que viene sea abundante y duradero. Lo que antes te dolía, ahora te dará autoridad espiritual. Lo que antes te debilitaba, ahora será tu testimonio. Lo que antes te hizo dudar, ahora fortalecerá tu fe. Nada fue en vano. Dios no te soltó cuando pensaste que estaba en silencio. Él estuvo más cerca que nunca, guiando cada paso, sosteniéndote cuando ya no tenías fuerzas, protegiéndote cuando no sabías qué decisión tomar. Antes de continuar, escribe en los comentarios esta frase como acto de fe y confianza. Confío en los tiempos perfectos de Dios. Permanece escuchando porque en la siguiente parte Dios quiere revelarte cómo esta nueva temporada no solo traerá cumplimiento, sino estabilidad, paz y propósito para todo lo que viene después de la promesa. Dios te dice hoy, te lo prometí y lo realizaré, todo saldrá bien. Y esta palabra no llega solo para animarte por un momento, llega para quedarse sembrada en tu interior como una verdad que te sostenga cuando vuelvas a enfrentar días de incertidumbre. Porque aunque ahora sientas alivio, Dios sabe que el camino continúa y que todavía habrá decisiones, esperas y pasos de fe que dar. Por eso esta promesa no es frágil, es firme. No depende de tus emociones, depende de su fidelidad. Has vivido etapas donde parecía que dabas más de lo que recibías, donde tu esfuerzo no era reconocido y donde tu fe era puesta a prueba una y otra vez. Sin embargo, cada uno de esos momentos fue formando una base que hoy te permite sostener esta promesa con madurez. Dios no te preparó solo para recibir, te preparó para permanecer, porque muchas personas reciben bendición y se pierden, pero Dios sabe que tú estás siendo formado para avanzar sin perder el rumbo. Hay algo importante que necesitas entender ahora. El cumplimiento de Dios no solo cambia circunstancias, cambia identidad. Cuando Dios cumple, no solo abre puertas, también afirma quién eres, fortalece tu confianza y te devuelve la certeza de que no caminaste en vano. Todo lo que dolió, todo lo que esperaste, todo lo que parecía estancado tenía un propósito mayor del que imaginabas. La Biblia dice en Isaías 55:11 que la palabra que sale de la boca de Dios no vuelve vacía, sino que hace exactamente aquello para lo cual fue enviada. Y esta palabra que hoy escuchas fue enviada para cumplirse en tu vida. No fue soltada al aire, fue pronunciada con intención divina. Lo que Dios habló sobre ti sigue vigente, aunque el tiempo haya pasado y las circunstancias hayan intentado contradecirlo. Tal vez todavía no ves el panorama completo, pero ya puedes notar señales, decisiones más claras, una paz distinta, menos miedo al futuro y más confianza en Dios. Eso es parte del cumplimiento. Dios empieza por dentro antes de manifestar afuera. Él sana pensamientos, ordena emociones y fortalece la fe para que cuando llegue lo prometido no te robe la estabilidad, sino que la confirme. Hoy Dios te invita a dejar de vivir en modo supervivencia. Ya no estás solo resistiendo, estás entrando en una etapa donde comenzarás a avanzar con mayor seguridad. No porque todo será fácil, sino porque ahora sabes en quién confías. La promesa no te encontrará desesperado, te encontrará preparado, No te encontrará dudando de tu valor, te encontrará firme en tu identidad. Hay puertas que se abrirán sin esfuerzo humano, conversaciones que llegarán en el momento justo, oportunidades que no estabas buscando, pero que encajarán perfectamente con el propósito de Dios para ti. Y cuando eso empiece a suceder, recordarás este mensaje y entenderás que Dios ya lo había dicho antes de que lo vieras. Por eso, escribe ahora mismo en los comentarios esta declaración y hazla con fe. Creo que Dios cumplirá todo lo que me prometió. No es solo una frase, es una confesión que fortalece tu espíritu y afirma tu confianza. Si este mensaje habló a tu vida, suscríbete para seguir recibiendo palabras que edifican tu fe, te recuerdan quién eres en Dios y te acompañan mientras ves cumplirse sus promesas. Permanecer conectado a este contenido es una forma de seguir alimentando tu esperanza mientras el proceso avanza. Te invito a suscribirte a este canal cristiano que aumentará tu fe. Y comparte este video con alguien que esté esperando una respuesta, porque Dios también puede usar esta palabra para sostener a otros. Por último, recuerda y guarda esto en tu corazón mientras sigues caminando. Dios no se retracta, Dios no improvisa, Dios no falla. Te lo prometí y lo realizaré. En todo te irá bien.